this video, I'd like to share some thoughts that I've had on arcing as I've practiced it myself and as I've come alongside other people as they've begun to learn how to use the Bible arcing method. And I hope you'll find some of these thoughts helpful. First, I do want to say that arcing in itself is very simple. The procedure that we're following, the definitions of the various logical relationships are straightforward and simple. However, following the flow of thought in a passage of Scripture, following an author's flow of thought is complex, particularly when we stack up a series of propositions. It's one thing to relate to identify the relationship between two propositions, but when we start to stack up 6 or 7 or 8 propositions, this can get fairly complex. Next, you always want to arc one sentence within one sentence before moving on to the next sentence, because a sentence represents a unit of thought in the for the author, even though there may be multiple propositions in one sentence. So always arc within one sentence before moving on to relate that sentence to other propositions or other sentences that come after it. This also applies to paragraphs. This is also true of paragraphs, because a paragraph, as it's identified, defines a unit of the author's thought. And so we also always want to finish arcing within one paragraph before moving to the next paragraph. One sentence before moving to the next sentence, one paragraph before the next paragraph. But this is not necessarily true of verses or of chapters in the Bible. As we know, the verses and the chapter divisions in Scripture are not considered to be inspired. And so we don't need to worry about those, although they can be helpful, may actually be misleading when we're thinking about arcing. Next, you never want to cross arcs. Never cross arcs. Always choose the best relationship. You may be on the fence between two relationships and not know which way to go, but force yourself to make a choice. Force yourself to make a choice. This is why we have erasers, because we can go back, but you never want to have a situation where you're crossing arcs or saying that there are two simultaneous relationships going in different directions. So you never want to cross arcs. The next thing I would say is this. When you don't know where to start, just follow your eyes. As you separate a passage into its various propositions, and then you're beginning to take the next step of defining the relationships, there's going to be a lot that you may not recognize. However, you can ask the question, what do you recognize? Just follow your eyes and define what you can first. While you're doing this, I would encourage you to trust the key words. Trust the key words that are found on your cheat sheet as we go through this. Don't overthink it. We believe in verbal plenary inspiration, and the key words are there on purpose and are meaningful. So don't overthink it, but trust the key words. Also, while you're looking at the relationship between propositions, notice both coordinate and subordinate relationships. Notice which relationships are supported by restatement or by distinct statement or by contrary statement. These divisions are all on the cheat sheet that Piper supplied at the end of his booklet. But those are very important as you're looking at relationships. Finally, arc in whatever direction you like. You can draw your diagram, your arcing diagram, in any direction that you'd like. This is your diagram. I'll show you how I like to do it, but you're welcome to do this in any direction that you find helpful, whatever direction you best can wrap your mind around. So here's an example from the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. and so forth. I've labeled each proposition, and now I'm going to draw on the left side is how I like to do it, because I have a nice straight line there. And I'm drawing an arc over each proposition, and then I'm beginning to define the relationship between each proposition and drawing an arc over those. And so I've defined 3AB, 4AB, 5AB. These are all in series together. So I'm going to draw one arc over the top. And I like to do that on the left side. But it may make more sense to you to draw this on the right side of your verse, of your propositions as you list them out. And you certainly can do that. And I'll illustrate that here. It's the same exact diagram with the same meaning. However, it's just going to the right instead of the left. And if that makes more sense to you, then you're welcome to do that. When I'm studying, a lot of times I'll draw the arc on the left side, and then as I'm going through commentaries or making observations myself, I'm making those notes on the right side of the passage as I have it on my piece of paper or on my whiteboard or whatever. But you can do that. Another way, and you'll see this illustrated in the Biblical Exegesis booklet, is you can write this out horizontally if you would prefer. Once you've identified each of the propositions, you can draw this out horizontally, and you have the same information in front of you to remember later, because we've already labeled our propositions, and now we've written that out horizontally, 3AB, 4AB, 5AB. We're identifying each of the relationships in each sentence before moving to the next sentence. And then we're relating all of the propositions together under one arc. So you really can do that any way that makes sense to you. And I want to encourage you to do that. In these videos, I will be doing it on the left side margin.